Hi guys, Brandon here, and welcome to my review of Alien Earth Episode 4. This one's going to be mostly unscripted, so be prepared for that. We're just going to do things the same way that we did last time, where we did a spoiler-free version, and then we will do a spoiler version that will be at the end of the video. However, the spoiler-free version will be relatively short. It's only one episode, so I can't talk about the episode too much spoiler-free. So if you're waiting for the spoiler stuff, that will not take too long. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. First off, I want to say, if you're one of those people that were kind of like upset with the way that episode 3 went, because it was more of a kind of like a slow episode that was mostly just focusing on character building, not a lot of action, not a lot of stuff happening. This is I'm one of those again. I don't have an issue with that, because like I think they're building to a lot of cool things that will have an awesome payoff. But if you're one of those people that took issue with that, like a lot of people did with episode 3, this is another one of those, besides the ending, which we will get to. Do not worry. Like I said, we're going to do a spoiler-free section, so I'll talk about most of the things that happen in the episode. So if you just want to watch this and wait till episode 5, it's totally fine. One thing that I think is really, really great is one of the things I had worried about or just didn't like too much when I made my initial review, is it felt like the Lost Boys individually didn't have as much of a plot or personality to them. They all felt kind of like very samey with the whole, well, I'm just a kid, so in an adult body. So, you know, all of them were to some extent immature and weird, which, you know, makes sense, but that, you know, all their personalities are starting to run together. This episode rectifies a lot of that. A lot of the Lost Boys are very much more rigidly defined. Some of them with issues instead of good things. Instead of like personality traits, they have problems that they are now dealing with, which are an issue. So yeah, that's cool. I will say that this is like not a show I want to watch while I'm stressed, and I would not recommend it to be a show that you watch while you're stressed. It's kind of got that like Game of Thrones ism to it, where it's like, wow, this is really good content, but man, is it upsetting. So like, don't watch this while you're in a bad mood, while you're depressed, while you're upset, because a lot of, especially in episode 4, there's a lot of things that are probably going to continue to upset you or stress you out. So just a heads up. Also, if you're one of those people that's been confused when they're talking about how the Wendy and the xenomorph communication thing is working so far, they do delve more into that this episode, and that does clear up a lot of things. Like I said, I thought it was pretty obvious early on that they dropped the hint that like she can hear higher frequencies than other people can, and even the other synthetics can, the other hybrids can. But they doubled down more on that here and explain a little bit more. So if you're confused about that, that's fully laid out for you in this episode. So I think that's about it for the spoiler-free section. Basically, that's it. It's another moving pieces kind of episode that kind of pushes a lot of the current plot lines that have already been established forward, but doesn't really become a big deal until the ending. Like I said, if you're one of those people that was upset with the fact that the last episode is mostly a lot of talking, a lot of character building, there's another one of those. So you can meet me over in the spoiler review section if you want to skip this one, which I don't think you should. It's a very, very good episode, period. But you know, if you're just one of those people. Yeah, I think it's about time we go ahead and get into the spoiler section, because man, this was a wild episode. it was wild for one that didn't really technically have a lot of action happening, but so much stuff was happening. Furthermore, one of my favorite characters, Morrow, and his kind of like, not really mind control, but kind of like manipulation and gaslighting of Slightly is ramping up and continuing. He has gotten Slightly into the point where he is actively almost taking orders from him directly. And even right as Slightly was starting to kind of be like, oh, okay, maybe I don't really trust you. Morrow has duped Slightly into giving him his full name. So he just went and is like very subtly threatening his family, you know, about to hold them hostage if Slightly, you know, goes the other way and is disobedient. Which is culminating in Slightly being told to literally infect somebody with the alien and then bring it off island, which is, you know, a similar plot. If you guys remember Aliens, where the whole point was that it was going to gestate in someone, and Burke wanted them to bring it back in cryosleep back to Weyland-Yutani. So that could potentially happen again if Slightly follows through with Morrow's wishes. The good thing is that Kirsh is well aware of what's happening. He is tapped into Slightly and can even hear what Morrow is saying through the little chip. So Kirsh is well aware of what's happening, but if you've been following the episodes, and especially this one where things are getting far worse, Boy Cavalier is very, very nasty, mean, and dismissive of Kirsh, and I don't know how Kirsh feels about that. I you know, like, this should be like an open shut case, right? Like, Morrow is trying to make Slightly a mole, but like Kirsh is fully aware of it. Kirsh is loyal to Prodigy, so it should be an open and shut case, right? But we have to deal with the other variable that boy Cavalier treats Kirsh like garbage. So will Kirsh just let it happen? Who knows? We'll have to see. Speaking of Kirsh, the Lost Boy that's working with him all the time that I always forget the name of now has a name. Isaac Newton. This is very funny because I had a very, very funny moment when I was watching this episode with Liz, where I forget which Lost Boy they were beforehand, so I don't know the previous name, but they were talking about like, oh, well, I should have like a big boy adult name. And I was looking at scientist names. I'm like, Isaac. And then 3 seconds later, boy goes Isaac. I'm like, I'm a genius. But so far, Isaac seems like the most normal out of all of them. All of them, besides Shmi, really have like a lot of issues, a lot of stuff going on. But Shmi and Isaac now, like, seem like the most normal, and it feels good because they balance out the other ones. Shmi's still very like immature and very baby-like with the way he goes about things, but he's still normal. He's still just like, he's more just immature normal, where now Isaac is just like adult normal. But they level out the rest of the Lost Boys who are out there for various reasons. Speaking of that, I was absolutely correct about Nibs tweaking in the last episode, because that is confirmed in this episode. That is exactly what's happening, is that going through all those very understandably horrible and traumatic experience of going into the towers, all the aliens and stuff, has kind of mentally broken Nibs, and now she's convinced she's pregnant. And when challenged on this delusion, she nearly kills Dame Sylvia. She like runs up and grabs her by the throat. Holy moly, that was like such a swerve, and I did not see that coming. Like, if you told me 2 episodes, you're like, yeah, Nibs, you're gonna be scared of that character, I'll be like, what? What are you talking about? But she genuinely makes me uncomfortable. Genuinely makes me uncomfortable. Gosh, it's just such a bad mix. You have a child brain, super traumatized, now in a delusion, now in a superpower body. Like, this could not be going more wrong. This could not be going any worse than it is now. Oh man, I don't like how that's gonna go. All those, like, if you guys have watched Alien 3, you know, I always forget his name, the one character that snaps in the middle of that movie and then lets the alien go even though they had captured it. It's giving me that vibes, and that's not good. It's not good that that's the vibes I am getting from this, because that essentially means if history repeats itself, well, if the future happens in the past because of the chronological timeline, but you know what I'm saying, that things will eventually be under control, but Nibs is now a variable that may come to ruin things and maybe release the Xenomorph back out or do something to that extent. That's not good. Bad things are happening. There's a lot that goes down in this episode. One thing I will say is, like, my name is Brandon, I was wrong. They stopped the organ harvesting thing on Joe just for the lung, just so they could gestate it with a Xenomorph. And then they just let him go. But there was a reason for that. And we find out that that lung, that new lung they put in him, the synthetic lung that they put in them, is so expensive that he literally cannot leave Prodigy, because if he did, there's no way he could afford it. So he has now been essentially captured by Prodigy, because they're like, oh, well, you can leave, but then you would be in so much debt that you wouldn't be able to live, you wouldn't be able to pay it, and then, you know, all that bad stuff would happen. So yeah, very dirty, very underhanded. And you know what's funny? I will say this. I actually kind of like Joe this episode. I'm starting to see the point of Joe in the series. He's not just a tack on for Wendy's story, but he's kind of like, I was talking about the normal guy thing earlier. He is just like the normal guy, the voice of reason, because the closest we have to that right now is the scientist character's name that is Dame Sylvia's husband, that I always forget the name of. But Joe is like, no, you should all have your family here. I think it's weird that I get to be here with Wendy, but all of your families don't get to be here, which is a super empathetic and normal thing to say. And he's going around the hall talking to so many different like bigwigs at Prodigy and going, no, give Wendy a break. She's stressed out. Hey, no, let's not be unempathetic to this person. Like, he is like the voice of reason in all of this chaos, where everybody has like an angle they're going towards. But Joe's just like a normal guy that has empathy for people. And it's kind of like really highlighting like just how much these people are disconnected from reality, and how their hubris will probably lead to their, will absolutely lead to their downfall. Also, a very scary thing is that Slightly is looking at Joe as the person that he's planning to use as the host to gestate the xenomorph to get it off island. That's terrifying. Yeah, let's talk about the banger ending to this episode, because the ending of this episode, 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10 even. Amazing, awesome. So the entire episode is setting up, more doubling down on the fact that Wendy can hear the xenomorphs on that frequency that they talk on, and she even is able to mimic the sound that she is hearing for Boy Cavalier, which makes him really, really happy, really solidifies her as the favorite again, which makes Curly really mad. But this all culminates because not only is she able to repeat what she's hearing, she's beginning to understand it and use it to communicate with the xenomorph hive mind itself. So inevitably, when that little chest burster noodle went into the lung and finally bursts out at the end of the episode, she's able to speak with it. We don't get to hear what they're saying, but she's able to soothe it, keep it from running away and freaking out like usually chest bursters do. And it just chills there. It's very interesting and not good. I do want to say also, before we get too far away from this, that the chest burster model in this show looks really, really good. It's probably the best the chest burster has looked in media, and they knocked it out of the park. They did a 10 out of 10 job. I also like this from like a lore perspective, because the main thing that Ripley is saying in every single movie that she's in is like, I don't know why Weyland-Yutani wants this thing. I don't know why they want it for their weapons division. The idea of controlling this thing is unrealistic and wild. Of course, there's no reason they could ever control this thing. We got to stop them. Which is still right. You should still stop them from, attempting to control the xenomorphs and bringing them to all these different planets and all that stuff. But this might be the reason that Weyland-Yutani is so hell-bent on that idea, because there has been a point in time where somebody could control the xenomorphs, and if they could just replicate that, then they could control the xenomorphs. So at this point, just projecting based on this episode, what may happen is everything goes badly. Who saw that coming? Weyland-Yutani, through way of Prodigy collapsing or going by the wayside, whatever happens to happen there, gets access to this intel, sees that at some point somebody controlled the xenomorphs, and goes, I gotta get another one of those. Because if we can control that, that means not only can we beat out the other competition of the other companies on the world, but also that means we have the most powerful military to go anywhere we want, conquer whatever we want, because we can just send these super predators, not the predators, not the Outja, but like the ultimate life form, to just go clean it up and call it a day. So it just kind of adds some sort of like logic other than just like, man's hubris and super greed corporation. There is actually some very, very thin founding for like, hey, we can control these things that happened once before, which I like that. I like that it adds that extra dimension, that extra layer to the content that comes after it in the timeline. So I like that. Yeah, anyways, this episode was really good. It really stressed me out. It sucks to see all these characters so stressed out and going through so many different bad things at the same time. But, that's good TV. There's a lot of stakes, a lot of stress, a lot of bad things the characters are going through. But those were all either those resolutions, either negatively or positively, by the end of the show. It is only an 8-episode series, I believe. So already at episode 4, we're already at the halfway point. So we're essentially at the about to hit the climax, and then everything is a couple episodes of the climax, and then it's gonna fall. We're gonna get the falling action right after. So I don't know. I'm really excited. I like what's set up. There is a chest burster in the lab now. There's actively a xenomorph growing on the island, which is not great. So it's great for TV, but not great for the characters involved. So we're about to start ramping up again. Things are about to get scary again, and I'm very, very excited. Hi guys, editing brand, recording brand for some reason just did not give this episode a rating. So that's what you get for not using a script past me. Yeah, I would give this episode a 7.5 out of 10. It's just an episode that's setting up a lot of what is to come, and that's not a bad thing per se, but it does make a lot of like the things you come accustomed to in this series, like the action, the tension, kind of dying down a bit before it rises up to our big climax. So this is the one that I think when you guys are watching back, you may decide to skip this one just because you already know what's coming and you know all the characters already. I will say that if you have not been a fan of a lot of the characters up until this point, this is the episode that more rigidly defines basically everyone and kind of confirms more of their motivations. And especially with the Lost Boys, who are, like I said, we're kind of starting to run together, start having their own personalities for better or worse. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10. Good episode that has a good build up to what is happening. But, you know, as a result, it's a little bit tamer, a little bit calmer, and that may not be everybody's cup of tea. So yeah, back to you, recording Bran. Do better next time. Yeah, what do you guys think of episode 4 of Alien Earth? Let me know down in the comments below. And did this episode either make you want to watch more or make you want to watch less? Because I know there's a lot of hot takes about this series. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. That's how I know I'm doing a good job on the back end. And either way, hopefully this video made your day a little bit better today. And if it didn't, I'll try to do so again in the next video. And if I don't see you in the next video, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.